the service line. So that's it. Must have been a facade. I don't think there was much in facades.
Here we go. Look at that. This is what. But I think that.
Well, while we're waiting for technical support, I did want to mention, first of all, there are bathrooms to my right, your left. Your left, my right. Through that door there.
There we go.
We also have Jean Eve here with copies of her books. And Jean, thank you very much for bringing those and for gracing us with your presence again. Jean spoke to us before COVID, which seems like lifetimes ago, about Blue Moon?
Railroad to the Moon.
Railroad to the Moon, yes. Yes, yeah. Wonderful presentation. Back in our old digs on the third floor of the courthouse. Some of you may remember that back in the day.
Are you set now?
What's that?
Oh, okay, so I didn't have to go into my stand-up routine. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Anderson Historical Society for inviting me. I want to thank LA Arts for hosting the facility, the presentation. It's beautiful. I love the artwork. One of the things we're working on, I volunteer on the education committee at the museum, and we're working on adding in the A to STEM, so that there's the science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. So arts is very important to us, and we're looking to increase that activity. Let's see what's next. Oh, welcome. So I started looking for researching things with the Theodore Roosevelt connection with the museum and Narcissus quite a few years ago when Jolene was working in the office, volunteering in the office back then, and she was so helpful. And one day I found a little tidbit because what happened was I was doing the research on Roosevelt because he was a passenger on the Narcissus in 1914. But the more I looked into stuff, I found that guy, Roosevelt, loved Maine. And he was here a lot. He has so many connections. So in 2016, I came up with this idea of the Theodore Roosevelt Maine Heritage Trail. And kind of made connections on doing that and come up with all these different connections. There's more than 30 communities in Maine that have a Roosevelt connection. And then when I heard that the Presidential Library, they started staking out for the construction work last summer out in North Dakota, I said, I better get that thing going. So last summer I released it officially through social media, so you can go through the Narcissus blog and find all these different communities that have a direct or indirect Theodore Roosevelt connection. And I was blown away, and I still learn every year. Something pops up and goes, yeah, Theodore Roosevelt. What? I thought I had all that covered. So that's, he came here for the first time when he was president in 1902, and arrived at the Auburn train station, and then there was like a parade of horse-drawn carriages, and there were like 70 of them. And I wrote it up from the newspapers accounting for the Lewiston and Auburn contact. And he came over to Lewiston, and then they had a grandstand set up at the park over here, and there were like 30 or 40,000 people attending it. The streets were just lined. How they decorated the city, it's incredible. So I mentioned the STEM. If you haven't been to the Trolley Museum, we have an executive director. She's been with us now for 4 years. She's brought a real energy to the museum, and that's a new entrance sign that went up a couple years ago, I think now. And 2023 is our 84th year. And a couple things we have going on. Whoops, I gotta work this. So doing this via Zoom is different than doing it live. So this location was where our first car house was, car barn, back in the 50s. And an anonymous donor gave us $1.2 million to replace it with this brand new building. And it's just been built. And you can see there's no tracks to it yet, but in this picture, but since then, tracks have been laid down by our volunteers and with some paid contractors inside. And so these doors will go up automatically, the safety, everything, so it's a high-grade building. It's not gonna have cars in it yet because there's still some work to do, but it's happening. So if you go to visit, you're gonna see this front and center now. It's gonna have cars in it. And then this building here, this is last week, so they've added more on the second story, but a fella gave us through the Weiss Medical Foundation $3.2 million to build this building specifically to house a model railroad set from Maine, the largest Maine Central Railroad specific model railroad set in New England, really. And so that will probably be open in 2024. So I just wanted to give you just some great things happening. So now, this is an original porcelain sign from Lewiston, from the car house on Middle Street. So there was a little ticket booth in there. And so this was an advertisement, and we have the original little one. It's only like this big from there. O.R. Cummings had it, and it's in our collection now. These cars, as you can see, are leaded stained glass windows. Now, you'll see as we go along here, this is from October 10th, 1910. Construction of the right-of-way, which starts at Fairview Junction, where Minot Ave comes into Poland Road, and all those, there's like 5 different roads that come in there all together, right? So the local trolley lines, which ultimately became the Androscoggin and Kennebec, would go on to Mechanics Falls, but there was a spur there, and so the Portland-Lewiston cars ultimately could spin off there, do the switch, spin off. There's a phone booth there for their private phone system, but construction actually started in that area in April of 1915. And so these 3 guys, it says right here that it's W. Scott Libby, his son Harold, and then Samuel Farrington, and Ferguson, and Samuel was head of the construction. So he at direction of Libby, turned the first soil over in April of 1910. So this is Paul Libby. He's 97 now, and he still owns one of the Libby mills. It's the Scotia Mill on Lincoln Ave. Ernie and I went and visited, and one of his sons was there. And so I've got to know the family over the years, and he still goes to work every day at the mill, his grandfather's mill. And he gave us the original surveyor's map that was completed in January of 1910. And I raised the money and had it's 28.5 feet long, and I have a copy of it here so you can take a look at it. And we had it repaired, cleaned, conserved, and digitized. And when it was done, this is the copy that I have here. I wanted to show him that he did the right thing, giving it to us so we could raise the money and get it preserved and conserved for his family. And Paul's terrific. He still has a lot of individual stuff. So you can see how long that is, 28.5 feet long. It's missing about 18 inches from the Portland end, but we did do that. And the digitized pieces, we gave